Hey everybody, it's me again. I'm back for the second and part of my top 12 of Dr. Seuss specials. I'm carrying on where I left off with number 9, Dr. Seuss on the Loose. Now, as I said before, or in the last part, this is one of my favorite of the Dr. Seuss specials. For quite a number of reasons, actually, as we'll soon get to. So, one of the reasons is, unlike the other Dr. Seuss specials, this is a 3-parter, containing 3 short stories. The Sneetches, the Zacks, and Green Eggs and Ham. Now, where do I begin? Oh yeah. Well, let's start with the narration for this special. It's done by Hans Conried, who many people who have grown up in the 90s or grew up earlier than the 90s would recognize his voice as the original Disney version of Captain Hook. Hans Conried, it's also narrated and some other Dr. Seuss specials on this list, as we'll soon get to. Excuse me. But anyway, let's get on to the special. With the first story, The Sneetches. The Sneetches is kind of Dr. Seuss' way of explaining what's the word I'm looking for here? Segregation. And in a way, as there are Sneetches with stars on their bellies, as who think they're the best, while there are Sneetches without stars who are treated horribly by the ones with stars. And apparently this continues on and on until one day a stranger approaches his strange vehicle. And Sylvester McMonkey McBean, who makes a deal with Plain Belly Sneetches that he'll give them stars just like the regular star bellies, and that he'll have them enter this huge machine, which will give them a star for $3 each. And so all the Plain Belly Sneetches go through this machine and get their stars. They're happy. They're finally able to be included in the Star Belly Sneetches as social gatherings. It is until the original Star Bellies get upset and declaring that they were the originals, they're still the best, and these phony Star Bellies are still the worst. But when and some of the crowd begins wondering, well, how can we tell which one's which? Sylvester shows up again and reassures the Star Belly Sneetches that he can fix this little problem with a machine that'll eradicate the stars, and they'll only cost the Sneetches $10. Yeah, you kind of can see where this is going. And as the story continues, the Sneetches pay money to get stars, or to take them off, get stars, take them off, get stars, take them off, until all their money is spent, and get others up his machines, and leaves, laughing and saying that they would never learn. But as it turns out, they do learn their lesson and realize that all Sneetches are pretty much equal. And I know a lot of you in the comment section are not going to be saying, oh no, this story isn't about segregation, and it has something to do with race. No, that's not really the case here. or in fact, in a certain an entry on this list, it actually does explain and the reason behind and the sneeches. Now, on to the second story, which is the Zacks. Narrated by Hans Conried, again. And the story is about how two Zacks going in opposite directions until they collide with one another. They start having a little argument about who should step aside and let the other get past. But because they're so stubborn, they'd rather stand and still forever, or rather than just take one step. And believe me, there are some people in the world like this. Now, for the third story, right, Green Eggs and Ham. We've all known all about the story. We've all know it by heart. This one has no narration, but it goes along with the book. Now, I want to say a couple of things first about this one story that kind of makes me smile a bit. And it's now with the running gag of the fox being chased by hounds and horses. So this throughout most of the story, which again kind of makes me smile a bit in a strange way. But the character of Guy in the story is voiced by a person and I didn't know about until years later. By that, I mean Paul Winchell. Now, if this name does not ring any bells to any people out there, or who are below the age of 30, well, how do I put this? Oh yeah, he's the original voice of Tigger, or from Winnie the Pooh. He's also the original voice of Gargamel from the Smurfs. And for those of you who still want to know who Paul Winchell is in the 1950s, he's in through the 50s up until his death. Peter Winchell was as an entertainer. He was not only a voice actor, but he was also a ventriloquist. His most famous characters were Knucklehead and Jerry Maloney. If anybody's seen in the documentary I'm Not a Dummy, you would understand what I mean. And to give you an idea, even more about Paul Winchell's legacy, his daughter, April Winchell, is a voice actress whose his characters like, I don't know, Peg Pete from Goof Troop, Sylvia from Wander Over Yonder, Miss Gretchen from Recess, let's see, Pepper Ann's mom from Pepper Ann, just to name a few. However, before I move on to number 8, there is something I got to talk about here. At some point in the mid-2000s, and somewhere between 2010 and 2020, actually, hold that thought real quick, I need to look this up. Have something be a little bit more accurate. Where did that come from? Oh yeah, here we are. Where was I? Oh yeah. In 2000, on April, no, not April, November 8th, 2019, Netflix decided to air or a TV series is based on Green Eggs and Ham. I've actually seen it, and it's pretty good. The animation is really a nice story. It's kind of nice. It kind of strays away from the original story, but there's a theme there. And on April 8th, 2022, or around 2022, the second season of Green Eggs and Ham show on Netflix. Now this one actually the second season actually ties into another special, that'll be on this list. I'm not going to say anything more about that one, as I talk about that particular special all on its own. So now number 8, The Hooper Loop Highway, airing February 19th, 1975. This story has a bit of a where do babies come from motif to it, as it takes place way up in outer space. Where a person named Mr. Hooper Blue educate its infants before sending them down to Earth. Now, the special was kind of complex. Next for me, I need to explain. But I'll let you guys just take a look at it. And believe me, it is crazy. Now on to number 7. Halloween is Grinch Night, or simply a Grinch Night. Airing October 28th, 1977. And once again, narrated by Hans Conried. This is the perfect Halloween special for Dr. Seuss. And I've actually seen Count Jacula as review of this, as well as Bob Show's reaction to this. And now looking back, the trailer I saw for this one, it might have been the one that kind of spooked me a bit when I was a kid. Anyway, as you can imagine, this special kind of starts as a bit of a prequel to How the Grinch Stole Christmas. As, of course, canonically, or maybe not canonically, chronologically, it takes place around October, where the Grinch is still all kind of evil in a way. Anyway, it's a pleasant autumn afternoon when in Whoville. It is until a sour sweet wind starts blowing over the town. On every who smells what's this mysterious wind, and they realize what's about to happen, as it happens every year, or as they run inside and pour themselves in. As Grandpa Josiah starts explaining what's going on. At the sour sweet wind, and awaken as these little creatures known as gree-grumps who sleep up in tree stumps, and they start growling. Once they start growling, and the lake starts toiling. Once the lake starts toiling, these sea serpent looking things called hacking cracks come out and start yelling. With all this howling, toiling, and yelling going on. And somehow reach it as up Mount Crumpet at where it disturbs the Grint. And he starts prowling. And once the Grint starts prowling, he starts coming down to Whoville, all to attend what he calls the Grinch Night Ball. Or at he lets loose a menagerie of spooks and specters on Whoville, pretty much scaring the daylights out of everybody. That is until one young Who named Euchariah gets accidentally blown up Whoville by a freak wind and gust as it actually meets the Grinch face to face. After the Grinch gets Euchariah a free sample of what terrors are ensue for Whoville. By that, he recites a German and chant while his eyebrows start fluttering in the air like a bat. Okay, I didn't know he had that ability. I also didn't know he could change size. Euchariah starts worrying about his family and the rest of the town, and is that the best course of action is to stall for time. And when the Grinch finally gets fed up with Euchariah stalling him, he decides to give him the full works by inviting him on top of his paraphernalia wagon, where he only shit as the full fort or its contents. And maybe it was this moment that kind of spooked me as a kid, even though I've only recently seen this special. Recent as in maybe a decade ago. And yeah, I've never seen this special as a kid. I don't know why. I never had the chance to, I guess. But so much is going on during this whole segment. And there's until Euchariah starts smelling on the air again and smirks. There's telling the Grinch that once the wind and goes away, and the chain reaction that causes the Grinch to come down begins to stop. The Grinch ponders this and realizes he's been beat, and he decides to head back home. But as he takes his wagon back up Mount Crumpet, and he vows that he'll come back someday. And if my suspicion is correct, we all know when that would be. Number 6. Number 6 is a tie between two specials. Horton Hears a Who and Horton Hatches the Egg. Now, Horton Hatches the Egg isn't technically as special as it was only featured as a Looney Tunes short, which to me kind of isn't fair. But whatever, it is what it is. Now, I'm pretty sure a majority of us know about the story of Horton Hears a Who from the full-length movie starring Jim Carrey. But I want to talk about the special all itself. Once again, narrated by Hans Conried, as well as featuring the This is of Chuck Jones and June Foray, who also was voiced in another Dr. Seuss special on this list. Oh yeah, by the way, this is one of the only Dr. Seuss specials that was animated by Chuck Jones, and you can tell, oh, that's Chuck Jones' work. For those of you who aren't familiar with the story, allow me to summarize it. That Horton the elephant, and it's minding his own business, as in the pool, of Newell, where all of a sudden you hear there's a small voice calling for help. As it turns out, the voice is coming from a speck of dust floating in the air. Or before it lands into the water, Horton saves it and places it on Clover. A sour kangaroo comes along and berates Horton for thinking and that there are people on the speck. And before she splashes the speck away after slamming her tail in the water, Horton shields it with his ears, and that they're glad that they should be glad that he's around, otherwise they would have been washed away again. Whereas there's a voice coming from the Clover, or thanking him. As he thought there really is somebody on the speck of dust. As it turns out, there's an entire city, the Whoville. Well, the person who's communicating with Horton and is a scientist named Dr. Whoville, who created a device that would allow him to communicate with beings from other worlds. In other words, world is far beyond the concept of their speck of dust. Unfortunately, though, nobody in Whoville believes him and mock him behind his back. Horton sympathizes with Whoville, and the two become friends. Much to the chagrin of the sour kangaroo, it's I guess spreading gossip up amongst the other jungle animals, starting with the birds. It's having the spread rumors that Horton might be crazy. After Horton nearly sneezes as the Clover off his trunk, causing it to crash into the ground. We get a little villain song number from the Wickersham Brothers. When the kangaroo decides that she's had enough of this for the time being, and these trio of monkeys, or called the Wickershams, come out and pretty much terrorize Horton. And before they finally steal his cloak over and run away. They had to give it to Black Bottom Eagle in order to get rid of it. The eagle hides it in the one place, and it's where Horton would probably never find it, in a field of clovers. And after hours of searching, he finally finds the clover, asking if Dr. Whoville and the rest of Whoville is okay. Whoville replies that when the bird dropped at the clover, it pretty much it's caught as the equivalent of a Class 9 earthquake. Yeah, now everybody in Whoville believes him. I'm as well willing to help. I'll prove their existence. Oh, and it gets worse from there. As the Sour Kangaroo, I was recruited in an army of Wickershams in order to, 1, jail Horton, and 2, destroy the clover by boiling it in oil. Now, as all of this is going on, and in Horton's world, in Whoville, Dr. Whoville is rushing all over our town, hoping to get at every Who he can to make as much noise as possible. But unfortunately, since Horton's the only one who can actually hear all of this, it's almost for naught. This until he finds one small boy who's not making a single sound as he tries to get him to make some sort of noise. The child finally makes a sound, and now all of a sudden, and Whoville's cries are heard. The special ends as kind of a cliffhanger in a way, as while Doctor Who is finally able to relax after such a hectic day, he spots a speck of dust floating in the air, calling for help. Yeah, it's starting all over again. Before I move on to the next half of this entry, I want to point something out here that I didn't catch when I first saw this. During the Whoville All Citizens reprise of the song Dr. Whovie, we see a Who emerge from the wreckage as apologizing to the Doctor. Except this Who is different than all the other ones in that he's green. Now, I don't know about you, but something tells me that this is one particular character we've seen before. And since this is the second Dr. Seuss special, all chronologically, he thinks it's the Grinch, and it's living in Whoville. Could be wrong, or maybe I'm right. Let me know in the comments section what you think. Now, on to Horton hatches the egg. I kind of remember this in a way, but at the same time I kind of forgot some of it. So bear with me. Oh yeah. The story is about a lazy bird named Maisie who's sick and tired of sitting on her nest as incubating her egg. Sorry. So after she spots Horton lumbering through the jungle of Newell, she has to kind of trick him into sitting on her egg while she takes a small break. Well, after months of sitting on the egg, wait, not months, weeks, I'm sorry, Horton's laughed at, he's ridiculed by his friends again. And he's left out in the snow, he's left out in the rain, and sitting on this egg. That is until a band of hunters appear, and instead of shooting him, they decide to come back to the big city and sell him to a circus where people can stare and gawk at him for money. Now, it is until one day that a certain lazy bird decides to take a peek at the circus, where she comes across Horton. And before he's able to explain anything, the egg starts hatching. And Horton and makes it clear that's his egg. Like Maisie and starts squawking that's her egg. Sorry, lady, you abandoned it at the second you flew away. So technically it belongs to Horton at this point. And when the egg hatches, it's a strange hybrid and it's born. And it's an elephant, but instead of having the forelegs of one, it has wings like a bird. This would be a Dr. Seuss's version of an elephant bird. And I want to digress here for a second and to say that in prehistory there actually was something called an elephant bird, but it was nothing like this. It was actually an extinct species of bird known as the moa that once lived on New Zealand and nearly 1 million years ago, but went extinct and due to sharing its home to not only humans but also to an eagle that actually preyed on it. Anyway, back to what I was saying before with the special. Oh, again, this isn't technically a special because it's more of an animated short or by Merry Melodies or Looney Tunes. But I count it as one as it's Dr. Seuss. And note, this is one of 4 Dr. Seuss movies I've mentioned on this list so far. And we still got 5 entries left. Stay tuned as I go over number 5. And boy, this one's going to be a long one.